Hello everyone, I'm Wendell Jones and welcome to this edition of the program Jones and Company. On this program we examine the national issues of the Bahamas. The Progressive Liberal Party is heading into convention later this month, and it is going to be an interesting convention because they are going to be electing new leaders in the Progressive Liberal Party. There's an interim leader now who is going up against another candidate. So Philip Brave Davis is running against Glenys Hannah Martin for the leadership of the party. And so far we know that Mr. Chester Cooper is running for the position of deputy leader of the party. And there are others, of course, who are running for the various positions in the Progressive Liberal Party. We are doing this program against the backdrop of a whole lot of things coming out of the Parliament of the Bahamas within the last week as well. And we are talking about the discussions with respect to the budget deficit, and the Prime Minister's given an ultimatum to illegal immigrants in our country that they ought to leave by the 31st of December. And so our guest on the program today is one of the freshman MPs on the opposition side, and he is Mr. Chester Cooper, the MP for Exuma and Ragged Island, who is running for the position of deputy leader of the PLP. Chester Cooper, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
Nice to have you on the program today.
My pleasure.
Godfrey Innes, good to see you.
I know Forbes Hill from whence Mr. Cooper hails. You know, it's been one of the main farming locations in Exuma. We grew a lot of onions.
In Forbes Hill, right?
Forbes Hill.
When did you leave Exuma, Mr. Cooper?
I left at age of 16
Okay.
to attend the College of the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I never left.
Okay.
My heart was always there.
Your heart was
I
always-
always yearned to be there.
Yes.
So this opportunity in politics gives me an opportunity to give back to my community that's been so good to me, and to spend more time in Exuma. So that's what I've been doing, and so far so good. God's been good.
Yeah. You always thought that you wanted to be in politics?
Well, I knew I always wanted to be in a leadership position in the country. And I had been offered for the past 3 elections to enter frontline politics, and I waited until I thought the time was appropriate, until I would have built my business sufficiently, until I was prepared to really make a meaningful contribution without distractions. So I'm there today. I'm happy to be involved. The country has been good to me, and now I have a chance to give back.
Mm-hmm. You've been in the business sector the private sector for a long time, and you had BAF, and it has grown from strength to strength under your leadership. And you've also served in the Chamber of Commerce in a leadership position.
Yeah.
And so now that you're an MP, how are you still involved in your business as the leader of BAF?
Well, you know, I've been fortunate to have a very good team at BAF and the group. So we have 2 managing directors. Mr. Sandy Morley runs the insurance business. Mr. Julian Roll runs the non-financial services side of the business. So I've been fortunate to have put in place a succession plan.
Okay.
But I'm still involved. I operate more at a strategic level, business development type issues to see how we can continue to chart growth for the business. But in terms of the day-to-day operations, I'm less involved than I used to be. You see, Mr. Jones, I didn't plan to be in opposition.
Okay.
I planned to be a part of the government and a member of the cabinet.
Yes.
So I wanted to put in place the type of infrastructure that would allow me to do that.
Okay.
So that in effect is the story, but God had another plan.
Okay, Godfrey.
Mr. Cooper, Exuma has seen much development from Georgetown, sort of west. Little Exuma has been dying, pretty much. You're from Little Exuma. What are your plans to resurrect the economy that once was there? Because I see Exuma as being for example, maybe the capital of the southeastern Bahamas, if they ever had a regional approach to development. What is your reaction?
Well, Little Exuma has opportunities, not in a way of a Sandals Resort or Emerald Bay Resort, but there's opportunity for boutique resorts. Little Exuma, I dare say, if you drive through Forbes Hill and you look out to the waters, it's perhaps one of the most beautiful places you will see anywhere on earth. And I say it unreservedly. So the capacity is there, certainly for small boutique resorts, other cottage industries. We are going to establish the Forbes Hill All-Age School, where I attended, as a hub in the community to promote more cottage industry, the creation of souvenirs and those types of things where persons who are involved in straw work can go out. It can be a community center, but we will build it and pattern it after the Wani Lutra Foundation concept, where it's not just a community center, but it creates opportunity where we may have a cafe, and from there, business will breed business. But
Unemployment opportunities.
Unemployment opportunities, without question. But what we're seeing at the moment across Exuma is we're in a good place generally relative to some of the other islands. Relative to Grand Bahama, Exuma is doing okay and can do even more. If the government focuses on some of the foreign direct investments that's in the pipeline, Exuma will be a net job creator. There are projects on the pipeline already for Little Exuma, but we make it clear as a part of what I'd like to call the strategic plan for Little Exuma that we don't welcome large-scale development there. So it's more tourism type of a community. And then you may also recall that there was a booming salt industry in Williamstown. And if you drive there now, you will still see a salt tower. These types of things
There was also a booming agricultural business. I can remember Racy Styles with his sheep.
With livestock, yeah.
Yes, and mangoes.
Right.
That's one of the mango capitals of the Bahamas.
So one of the things I'm big on, in addition to the things you mentioned, and of course fishing has been big in the area as well, but we have salt, and there's an opportunity, if not to go on a scale of a Morton type of a business, there's opportunity for smaller spa type related businesses built around the salt industry. So there is opportunity in all of the small communities across the Bahamas, certainly across Exuma. And these are the kinds of things that will bring the kind of economic empowerment and economic development and transformation that we need to see in the Bahamas.
How many votes you won by in Exuma?
108.
108. It's close.
Well, it's more than 100. But it's symptomatic of the wave that we saw across the country. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have been elected as a member of Parliament for Exuma. And I vividly recall a senior politician saying, you only got to win by one.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm grateful for that one person that brought me across the finish line.
And since the election, you've had the challenge of dealing with Ragged Island that was devastated after Hurricane Irma. How is that coming?
Well, slower than we hoped. The residents, we give the residents of Ragged Island significant credit for hitting the ground running, and the descendants have gone back and they've started rebuilding their family homesteads, etc. And we have some of the more resourceful Bahamians coming from Ragged Island. If you think of the names of Monroe and Lockhart and Maycock, very resourceful, industrious people. Ragged Island has probably produced the largest per capita crop of professionals in the Bahamas, I would dare say. So the resourcefulness and the resilience of the people is boding very well. The government and its agencies have gotten on the ground fairly swiftly, not fast enough in my estimation, not fast enough in the estimation of the residents of Ragged Island, but we're seeing some progress. The Defense Force is keeping law and order, and Officer Roll and his crew are doing a good job at this, but they're not yet involved in the reconstruction. They don't have police presence yet. There isn't medical professionals yet on the ground to provide the kind of support they need. We recognize rebuilding takes time. The devastation that was there was unimaginable and heartbreaking, if I might put it that way. So it's not going to be rebuilt overnight. So we're realistic about the prospects of rebuilding. BPL is now on the ground, there's communications, but there are some needs. We've presented these needs. We're in active dialogue with the Prime Minister and the Ragged Island Association, of course, to see how we can make this into a success story in terms of making it a model for recovery, a model for growth and restoration. There's a good economy in Ragged Island. Ragged Island is a very self-sustaining. So they have a big fishing industry. Again, there's salt, there's opportunity for cottage industries.
Goats.
A big livestock operation. On my first visit there, there was a lot of discussion about the goats and whether they should go to Bamsey. And the Ragged Islanders said, no, bring Bamsey to us. So this is the spirit of the Ragged Island people. They see the opportunity, they want to organize it, they want to rebuild, they want a modern town and a town center, but they want to be very actively involved in the process. So as their member of parliament, I'm going to be completely engaged with them in terms of getting the recovery going even faster than it started.
What do you make of the Prime Minister's statement that Ragged Island should be the first green island in the Bahamas? And quite frankly, he invited the Ragged Islanders to leave, right? Didn't he?
Well, I think the whole green concept is good in theory. We want to see it fleshed out. We want to build back better. We want to use modern technology. And if he's talking about renewable energy, certainly that's something that I endorse. Ragged Islanders must be actively engaged and involved in charting what they would like to see Ragged Island to be. So we must begin that engagement process. Where's the town center going to be? Where is the schools going to be? How are we going to develop industry? Whether there's an opportunity for a fish, a lobster processing plant. These types of discussions are things that we must begin the discussion on. I believe, though, that what we are seeing now is the rebuilding of the existing of the power system that exists before, with the overhead lines, etc. So Ragged Island is an opportunity to begin underground cabling, to revise some of the building structures so that we can employ the new building codes, etc., and really build back better. That's what the objective is. I believe at the time of seeing the devastation, the newspaper headlines were unlivable. The people of Ragged Island say they only got electricity in 1992. They know how to rough it. And therefore, they were emboldened to stay because they believe that if they stayed, the recovery can happen faster because they can be actively involved in the rebuilding. They're not looking for handouts from the government. They're looking for the process to be facilitated, and they're quite willing and able to chart their own costs. That's the spirit of the Ragged Islander.
Mr. Cooper, Ragged Island reminds me of a lot of these southeastern island communities where certain basic infrastructure is absent. And as a result of the absence of that basic infrastructure, development was slow. The time I visited Ragged Island, there were challenges with docking. What are the plans for a proper dock?
Well, this is a active discussion amongst Long
You see, because Ackland's got the same problem. This is a common problem throughout the Southeastern Bahamas. Docking facilities.
Well, I think there's a lesson. There was a new docking facility built to facilitate a sub-post for the Defense Force.
Yeah.
And the local captains don't particularly like it because they believe it's in the wrong location. So, and they won't take their boats there during a hurricane. They have different ideas as to where the harbor should be. So when I talk about engaging the people of these communities as to what's best, I mean, if you have a community of captains, you want to talk with them.
Yes, yes.
Where the best spot is for the harbor.
Yeah.
So Ragged Islanders want a port of entry in Ragged Island. They believe if they get that, they can attract a boating community. You might also recall that Ragged Island was a transshipment point, if you will, between Cuba.
Exactly.
Did extremely well. Back in the day, I'm told.
When I was a little boy, the Ragged Island fishermen or Ragged Island seamen were known for bringing, in those days, a lot of commodities from Cuba, right? And Woods Rogers Wharf, they would sell them.
But it's a fishing village now, and they can certainly do more in terms of commercial fishing with some infrastructural upgrades from the government.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper, when you talked about Ragged Island and Exuma, obviously if you had won, or the PLP had won the election, you would have been able to do some things a little easier and more quickly, since you believe that you would have been a part of the cabinet of the Bahamas. In terms of the aspirations of the people of that area, have they told you what they want that area to be?
In terms of Exuma,
yes.
Generally,
yes.
One of the things we discussed during the campaign in every community was an opportunity to develop each community into what that community want. In terms of building around what's there already, we talk about Williamstown and the salt, etc. So that was a very active discussion for Williamstown. In terms of Exuma, Exuma sees itself as the hub for the central and southeastern Bahamas. We believe there can be opportunities and jobs and economic business opportunities created if we were able to cause this to happen. If we can get small commuter airlines going from Exuma to Ragged Island, that doesn't exist now, by the way, and from Exuma to some of the other southeastern Bahamas, we would save a lot of costs for airlines like Bahamas Air. We'll create opportunities for entrepreneurs. If we can get our hospital in Exuma fully functioning.
It's not functioning?
Well, it's opened, but you know there are some needs and some requirements. It's a salt point for the community of Exuma, and we need to get it to a point where persons can come from Inagua and with a trauma incident and go to Georgetown. We want the opportunity to be able to build around the hospital, whether it's a medical school or a nursing school, around the hospital where we can build a community, very similar to what's been done with Ross University in places like Grand Bahama and Dominica. So these are the kinds of aspirations that the people of Exuma have for the island of Exuma. And these are the kinds of things as their member of parliament that I would like to see shepherded along. There are many things that we can do as private sector individuals, through the business community, with investors, etc. So all is not lost in terms of my eVision 2030 plan, because it never relied completely on the government to do things for us.
Okay. Okay. When we return, we want to ask you some more questions, and I know we want to go as to why you want to be deputy leader of the Progressive Liberal Party. That is coming up, as well as some questions on the public finances of the Bahamas. We take this break here on Jones and Company. We'll come right back.